4, Hayden Haas. Number 5, Peter King. Number 6, Caleb Eckler. Number 7, Colby Gravasek. Number 8, Levi Shaw. Number 9,
Once they're done.
Brody the Wall Booth. Number 11, Ty Peasley. Number 12, Nolan Stalick. Number 13, Brady Jackson. Number 14, Tyler Boheis. Number 15, Owen Highhill. Number 16, Colin Aaron. Number 17, Charlie Recor. Number 19, Colin Marine. Number 20, Kyle Nallinger. Number 21, Cash Money Holmes. Number 22, Landon O'Donnell. Number 25, Gabe Quiney. Number 30, Jacob Trost. Number 34, Cole Merrick. Number 51, Isaac Shaw. Number 55, Nick Egler. Number 18, Reese Flexick. Number 23, Trenton Johnson. Leading Laker lacrosse, Laker head coach Trevor Johnson. Assistant coaches, Connor Foster, Christian Franklin, Brian Boat, Nate Mansky, and Ian Ross Brown.
Excuse me, do you mind if I borrow that chair? The stool? Yeah. Thank you.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you stand. Our freedoms today have been made possible through the sacrifices of our military services on a global platform, past and present. Gentlemen, please remove your hats. Active and retired military personnel, please render the appropriate salute as we honor the United States of America with the playing of our national anthem.
Just about set for the opening face-off from here in Spring Lake. I'm Matt Gajtka, and this is the East Boys Lacrosse live stream back for a third season on YouTube. Thanks for following. Make sure you subscribe so you get the notifications whenever we're going live with these broadcasts. Our only broadcast of the pre-spring break portion of the East schedule is just moments away as East is set to challenge Spring Lake for the second consecutive season. These two teams met in the regular season finale last year, and East Grand Rapids prevailed 17-7 at home. This time on the road at the home of the Lakers, the Pioneers. You see them out there. The team captains meeting, or pardon me, the entire team's meeting with the officials, the starting lineups, to go over a couple last-second instructions, participate in the coin toss, and get set to go on a rainy night here on the lakeshore. It was rainier earlier, so the precipitation has lightened just enough, so it's not a miserable evening for lacrosse, but it's just your typical early season type of feel, as we are still in the month of March, and this is still West Michigan, so you expect this sort of thing from time to time. East Grand Rapids, a record of 1-3 on the year. Their lone win against East Lansing, 22-2 in the season opener. Since then, on the road, East Grand Rapids fell in a couple of games down in Indiana, two teams they hosted last year, Carmel and Hamilton Southeastern. They lost both of those games, also fell on the road to Detroit Country Day in a state championship rematch. East, the defending D2 state champions. That was their 7th title in program history and their second of the decade. Coach Kyle Ozapoff in his 5th season with a record of 63-22 looks out at midfield, as we've got Landon O'Donnell set up for Spring Lake to take the opening draw on the X, and it's poked back by Caden Gosens. What else is new? The returning All-American Gosens helps the Pioneers get the first possession of this ball game. And it's lobbed to the corner by Dylan Buck, a returning sharpshooter on the attack for East Grand Rapids. Buck scored 3 times in the state championship game against Detroit Country Day. East won it 15-10. They averaged nearly 20 goals per game in that successful playoff run. Here's Buck with a dodge, trying to shoot. He makes his way toward the goal, lets it rip, and an early save made. A leaping stop by Brody Boat, lobs it out to the near wing for Charlie Recor, and the Lakers fumble it away as Bolheis couldn't make the play. Taking it back, Ethan Fifley. He pops it ahead for the take by Grayson Fuller, the attackman. Hits the cutter. Here's a shot. Score for East Grand Rapids. Trevor Bird coming right down the alley, and it's 1-0 Pioneers. Just 52 seconds into this game. Trevor Bird, who also is a standout for the boys hockey team, puts one on the board here on the lacrosse field. And the Pioneers have that first goal they were looking for. Spring Lake comes into this game with a record of 2-1, by the way. They're coached by Trevor Johnson. Spring Lake went 1-6 in the OK Tier 2 last year. This is a West Michigan matchup. It is an OK Conference matchup, but not an intra-tier battle here, as East is in Tier 1 and Spring Lake is in Tier 2. Last year, East lost just once to OK Conference foes. That was to Rockford in a close one at home. And there's a quick foul call off the opening draw. The Pioneers get possession, according to the referee on the near side, and it'll be Dylan Buck setting up shop and hitting Fuller with it as the Pioneers work the right flank. Jake Gosens, twin brother of Caden, fed it over on far side. Zykowski, underhand shot, he scored. What a rip that was into the top corner, right past the ear of Boat, and it's 2-0 Pioneers just that quickly. So Zykowski connects with 10:48 to go in the first. Zykowski happy to be back on the field after missing most of last season due to injury. The Pioneers missed him, but just had so much depth on the attack last year that they were still able to thrive. But Zykowski going to be in a massive role this season on the Pioneers' attack. And he connects there. The Pioneers get 2 quick ones on the board. So Buck and Zykowski Another face-off control. Caden Gosens does it himself this time as he takes it in past the restraining line and allows the Pioneers to settle in. Trevor Bird at the top. Or excuse me, Bird scored the opening goal. Misspoke there. Bird and Zajkowski. With 10:23 to go in the first quarter. Clock ticking. Like I said, the rain has let up a bit. Jake Gosens hits the cutter. Shot by Bucky. Scores. Dylan Buck puts it in the bottom right corner. 3-0 Nears just like that. And after Spring Lake won the JV game rather convincingly, the Pioneers coming out with a statement in the varsity. And it is Dylan Buck. So Caden Gosens just waiting for the next face-off on the center X. The Pioneers are just ready to keep this thing rolling. They're feeling great about themselves at the moment, trying to rebound from that loss on the road to Country Day earlier this week. East graduated 5 all-conference performers from last year. Oliver Owen, Owen Stropke, Ruben Yakiri, Quinn Irwin, the netminder, and Brogan Bernard. So they've got some roles to replace. That's what the early season stretch is all about. Another face-off control, though, by the Pioneers. Dylan Buck over the line and then left it back for Fifely. His pass eventually gathered in by Grayson Fuller. Lobbed it behind the goal. Jake Gosens scanning things over as Baker Batches faces him up behind the goal. Fifely, or excuse me, that is, now Fifely has it as it goes right through his grass, but it is loose on the near side. Kept in bounds by Fuller, then he's shoved out by Colin Ahrens. And the flag comes from the official. I was waiting for that. And we've got an early penalty against Spring Lake. So that pass came through from Dylan Buck all the way to the near side, looking for Fuller. As he tiptoed the sideline, did Fuller, with 9:38 to go. And the Nears with an early man-up opportunity, already up 3-0.
Laker penalty, number 16, Aaron. Push.
Aaron's called for the push. And Jake Gosens goes to work. Back out top. Shot score, excuse me. It goes in off the cross of Zajkowski, who whipped it in from the left side. And it's a barrage early on. 4-0 Pioneers. Man up goal. Sam Zajkowski. His second goal of the game. And Jake Gosens give him the assist on the play. And a timeout's been called by Spring Lake with 9:34 to go in the first. First man-up chance of the game for either side, and the Pioneers convert. I mentioned last year, East Grand Rapids earned the program's 7th state championship, their first under their current head coach, Kyle Ozapoff, known as KO, of course. And KO won the USA Lacrosse Coach of the Year award last summer after the successful run all the way through the Division II playoffs. East went 20-3 last year. Their only losses to Hamilton Southeastern out of the Indianapolis area. Brother Rice, of course, a traditional power in Michigan lacrosse, and Rockford, as I mentioned. Also mentioned that Caden Gosens was named an All-American for his face-off prowess. So was Bennett Winkle, who graduated. He was not one of the all-conference performers somehow. Gavin Buck graduated. He put in 4 goals in that state title championship win against Detroit Country Day. So one Buck graduates, but still Dylan left behind, and Dylan heard from. He's contributing already in this one, and has early on this season, although East just with the 1 win in their first 4. They're hoping a return here to West Michigan can help them find their footing as they get set to go into the spring break, and then it's almost like a whole new season after that. Gosens takes it and charges over the restraining line and dumps it over to the far corner for Jake Gosens. Jake lifting it back. Zajkowski collects the ball on the bounce. We're on an artificial turf surface. Thankfully, on a night like tonight. A lot easier to maintain. Not a lot of grass surfaces out there anymore in high school athletics when it comes to varsity at least. And it just makes too much sense. faking, dodging, trying to get toward the goal. Zykowski, good defense by Spring Lake that time to push him right back out. And the Nears reset. Trevor Bird dumped it to Buck, Fuller, and Jake Gosens behind the goal. This time he's faced up by Jacob Trost. Gosens tries to emerge. Jake bounces it back to Zykowski. Cross extended, lobs it over to Fuller, and right back to the top for the control of Ethan Fifley, who had a big offensive season last year. Dylan Buck pumping, feeding in front. Jake Gosens controls. He tossed it to Fuller, who bounced it in. Great goal for the Pioneers. Great teamwork, and it's 5-0. And Fuller converts. He collected that pass. That was point blank as well on the feed. Great job. Fuller makes it 5-0 with 8:19 to go yet in the first. Grayson Fuller saw some action last year, but in the starting lineup this season and stepping into, like many players do in a new year, more enhanced position on the team and more opportunity to try to make his mark on the program. Back on the X, Spring Lake has not possessed the ball for more than 10 seconds in this game, and straight ahead with it comes Caden Gosens, right to the doorstep. Fuller, he fumbled that shot though, and it's picked up by the goalie Brody Boot, and Boot sends it out on left wing for Vaughn White. The Lakers trying to get some possession time, and they do. Break through the East Grand Rapids ride, but a bouncing pass unable to be handled by Isaac Shaw, and it's a quick turnover by the Lakers, who are down 5 and just coughed that one up with an unforced error. They'll activate their ride as the Pioneers feed it on the far side, and that might have bounced out of play, and I think it did. Yes, it did. It'll be a turnover for them. They're first of the ball game. Gives the ball right back over to Spring Lake. O'Donnell to the middle. And trotting it over the line, Vaughn White. White, the senior, right back to the junior, Tyler Bolheis. White wearing number 1. Spring Lake in the white uniforms with the red numerals. And Lakers across the front in red. Shaw to the top in white. First extended attacking possession for Spring Lake as we are nearing the midway point of the first quarter, and it's already 5-0 East Grand Rapids. On the fringe of the crease back there, Cash Holmes. Shaw and White. White looking for an opening. He drives it across. Egler faking the lefty shot into the middle, a drive and a score right along the ground by Landon O'Donnell, and Spring Lake has reason to celebrate for the first time today. 6:56 to go in the first, and it's 5-1. Assist awarded to Nick Egler, the sophomore, as he faked the shot. Got the East defense to just lean his way, and then connected into the middle for Landon O'Donnell. The senior converts. By the way, he's barely gotten an opportunity to touch the ball so far, but Adam Curtis is the nearest starting goalie, freshman, wearing number 18. That was his first shot faced, and it took nearly half the quarter. It's always a good sign when you're the goalie. As Zykowski trying to take on Recor. Side of the net, sharp angle try, and that hit the outside of the goal frame, and it settles there for a Brody Boat. He finessed it to Charlie Recor. On his back, Jake Gosens trying to force the turnover, but the Lakers weave their way through midfield. O'Donnell closing, faking, firing, and scoring. O'Donnell's got back-to-back goals, and Spring Lake cuts it to 5-2. Whole lot of offense in this one on both sides. Just one time in this quarter has a team had possession over the restraining line in the attacking end and not scored a goal. And that was on Spring Lake's first possession, but they've converted on 2 in a row. And it's a 3-goal game. And the Spring Lake sideline amping up the energy. Not a huge turnout here tonight, as you'd imagine. Fairly cold, brisk, soggy night as Gosens gets run over, and the foul called against Spring Lake, so he'll get credit for yet another face-off win. Jack Brown, the guilty man. Charging at Trevor Bird, left it off on right flank for Fuller. Dealt it on back. Buck faked it. Now fires, just missed that left corner, and the Nears are closest to it. Sam Zykowski lays claim to the out-of-bounds shot, and he'll be able to trot it right back into play. Zykowski against Recor. Zykowski turns, hits the late man coming. That's Fifely, but he couldn't get quite the shot away that he wanted, and it goes right into the cross of the keeper Boat. Fifely was excellent with a quick stick in front last year, but that time the pass just a little too tall for him as Trost sends it up the far side. Spring Lake into the attacking end again. Left back Nollinger, dispossessed, taken right away beautifully by Luke Stark. No surprise there, puts in the defensive work and finds the open man on near side, Jackson Nargi. Jackson, the long stick over the midfield stripe, hands off to Fuller, protects it with one hand on the twig and fed it to Jake Gosens. Jake out of the corner. He's got Trost between him and the net, so he passes it off to Zykowski, and the Pioneers go around the horn with it. Bird, Fifely, and Buck. Buck with a trot and a feed right to the side of the goal, deflected off the stick of Gosens and right to Boat. And Spring Lake gets the defensive stop. 4.5 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Here on the road, the Pioneers, our first broadcast of 2026 for the defending D2 state champs. Trying to get their second win of the season here tonight in their first game against a local opponent. Holmes slows down the pace behind the Pioneers' net. Spring Lake attackman pops it over to Shaw, and the Lakers assess their options. White, a lot of their offense runs through him. We can see that early on. Behind the goal, Holmes. Far wing, Egler, who has an assist already. Right back to Vaughn White. Egler. Behind to Holmes. Fake to pass. Now puts it out top from 10 yards away. A shot goes off the pipe. Might have glanced as well. Off the keeper, Curtis. Still loose, and Curtis pounces on it in his crease. Looking for the transition player of the Pioneers. Curtis gets it to Buck. Buck to Fuller. Mishandle initially. Ball on the ground. Still free, and it's swatted along hockey style before it's swatted at by Fuller, and he gets it right back for East Grand Rapids. The bounce pass behind the goal for Jake Gosens, back out in front for Fuller on the attempted give and go, but that was broken up, and the ball rolls out to East Grand Rapids. Jake Gosens over there to make sure. In a 5-2 game, Pioneers on top, ticking down toward 3 minutes to go in the opening frame. Fifely to Buck. And Dillon makes one man miss. Throws it backside. Great pass. Zykowski denied. Fantastic save by Boat as he went down on his backside and made the save. That ball ended up in his cross somehow. Zykowski looked like he got all of that shot. Just couldn't beat the acrobatic save of Boat to the near side, and stepping out of bounds on that attempt to get it upfield. Landon O'Donnell for Spring Lake. That's a turnover, and it's East Grand Rapids ball again. Zykowski ready to toss it in and trigger the clock with 2:43 left in the first. Pioneers scored 5 in a row to start. That's a way to announce your presence on the road, especially setting the early tone. So they were ready to go. To say they got off the bus well would be an understatement. Greenway, first action for the Pioneers to Fuller from Fifely. Behind the goal, Jake Gosens. Working one way, then the other. Looking for the wrap. Bounced it off the foot of Boat, it appeared. Loose and scooped by Gajtka of Spring Lake. Number 7 in white. Knocks it back over the end line. And it's turned over to East Grand Rapids as a result. Colby Gajtka got the ball back briefly, but he was in trouble. The Pioneers closed on him quickly. Gosens goes to Zykowski. With speed comes Trevor Bird off the bench. Bird to Fifely. Didn't get a lot on that shot as his release was interrupted by one of the Lakers. And taking the pass in stride from his keeper, Landon O'Donnell. He's already got 2 goals in the first quarter. O'Donnell throws on the brakes. Under 2 to go in the first quarter. Stadium lights on. White. Egler. Passed it behind. Coming out from back there, Cash Holmes. Bolhuis with the ball over his shoulder. Drives it back behind the net. Holmes looking things over. 1:20 left in the quarter. I'll keep an eye on that for you. As Holmes didn't like what he saw on the far side. Tries the near. Feed to Shaw. Top of the formation, Bolhuis. White. O'Donnell. Egler, and back to Holmes. He's got some space, fires it in. Cash Holmes with a quick twitch goal, and it's 5-3, 1:02 left in the first. That's our first goal in this game in 5 minutes of action exactly. But still a fairly high-scoring quarter. 8 on the board, 5 for your Pioneers, 3 for the Lakers. And the Lakers athletic staff has reason to sound the horn again here. It's a dual press box situation here. We've got the lacrosse field on one side, soccer on the other. Both artificial turf. Caden Gosens, a hard-nosed face-off win. He does it again. It's like a cheat code for the Pioneers. When they're in trouble, they have a great chance to get that ball back after conceding. And they've got 45 seconds to go in the quarter. Jake Gosens handling behind the net. Boat looks after him with a wary eye, and it's fed back to Buck. Buck trying to take on Haas. Buck, lefty pass, inside, score! Great job, Jake Gosens, collecting and ripping it right between the legs, it appeared, of Brody Boat, and the Pioneers have a 3-goal lead again. It's 6-3. Jake Gosens coming out from behind. Little sneak attack for the Pioneers. And that halts the Spring Lake momentum with 29 seconds to go in the quarter. Gosens at the X against Jack Brown. And again, Gosens controls it. The Pioneers have an opportunity to add on one more. They've got 6 in this quarter. They have 20 seconds to make it 7. Zykowski peels away toward the sideline. Now he gets his body moving against Recor. Right back out to Bird. Big shot, score! Trevor Bird gets his 2nd of the quarter as he beats Boat from long distance. And it is 7-3 Pioneers. 9 seconds to go in the first. Bird, you could see that look in his eye almost from up here. He was eyeing his spot, and he went bottom left corner. Bird buries. 4-goal margin again for East. And lacrosse is a game of runs. You got to be able to minimize the opponents and maximize yours. It's a game of response as much as anything. Unlikely anyone can do anything with 9 seconds, but I wouldn't put it past the Pioneers with Gosens in the stable. But it rolls away from him and cleared by the long stick of Colin Ahrens all the way down wide of goal. The freshman keeper, Adam Curtis, let it go. And that's it for the first quarter. East Grand Rapids gets 7 on the board. They score early, and they score a couple late as well. We'll take a short break here on the East Lacrosse live stream and bring it on back for the second quarter after this break.
Laker fans, if you can give a look up to the press box, we have a new grandfather. Born in Homer, Alaska. A new Nowlinger in the house. Kevin up here in the press box has been retired as a youth coach. Father of number 20, Kyle Nowlinger. And grandfather of a 9-pound baby boy, Rhett. Let's give him a big welcome. Laker fans and Pioneer fans, we have a presentation at halftime. We ask you to stay and enjoy it. Celebrating number 22, Jared Coleman.
Second quarter set to start from Spring Lake High School. I'm Matt Gajtka. This is the East Lacrosse live stream. It's our second full season. I did a handful of games back in 2024 and a lot more last year. And last season ended pretty well, so hey, why not do it again? Although I regretted not being able to call the final, the championship final. But was great to be able to broadcast as well a couple of games in the playoffs for the NFHS network. A proud program, proud tradition here at East Grand Rapids, and for a good reason, and a good start to this game. Up 7-3. Of course, all that history stuff doesn't help you when it comes time to put the ball down and go after it. And go after it does Caden Gosens. He's got yet another face-off win as he put that pass high on the far side, but handled by Caden Greenway. Greenway, the newcomer to varsity, listed as a midfield and attack. Buck over to Fifely. Buck and Fifely, familiar names. Greenway lines it behind for Jake Gosens. He's been effective from that spot in this game so far. Lakers looking to keep him from making a move toward the net. So Zykowski takes over behind the goal. Closely guarded by Charlie Recor. Zykowski putting it in front, Fifely, and he buries. There's that quick stick from Ethan Fifely that we saw so often last year. 8-3 Pioneers. A goal in the opening minute again, just like back in the first. In the first, it was Bird. This time, Fifely depositing. Zykowski, the helper, and East matches its biggest lead of the evening. It's 8-3. They also led 5-0. They put those 5 goals on the board in less than 4 minutes back in the opening quarter. As we await the face-off. A delay for some reason. Spring Lake was late getting to the X. Caden Gosens knocks it ahead, and this time lost on the possession to Landon O'Donnell. That's the first face-off win of the night by my count for Spring Lake. As the rain begins to fall again, we had a short respite, and now more precipitation. Just a rainy, chilly spring evening in West Michigan. But fortunately for lacrosse fans, that's not going to stop them from playing through it. Caleb Egler to Nick Egler. And behind the goal, trotting Cash Holmes from his familiar spot. Far wing Isaac Shaw. O'Donnell, Shaw, number 51. Laid it behind the goal to Cash Holmes, who had a goal back in the first. Holmes to Nick Egler, the sophomore. To the top, and Caleb Egler, also 10th grader. Right back to Caleb. He takes a look. Broke a line with that pass as it went right to the side of the goal and in behind to Holmes. But the Pioneers defended that well. They didn't panic even though the pass went right next to their net. From behind the cage, Cash Holmes again. Junior attackman. To Bolhuis. Deliberate are the Lakers. Patient, but down 5 early in the second quarter. Spring Lake at 2-1 on the season. They lost 6-5 to Forest Hills Northern in their opener. Then they beat Mattawan 9-7. Bouncing ball, but the Pioneers aren't close enough to get the turnover. Holmes scoops it. Beat Mattawan 9-7. Then they prevailed in overtime, 12-11 against Battle Creek Lakeview. That's their 3 results so far. O'Donnell, 2 goals today. Pressed out to the top of the zone by Buck, and so the Lakers rotated around near side. Holmes, again, the fake pass, but the Pioneers staying in that defensive structure. Not coming out too far, but not hanging back too far either. They're striking a happy medium at the moment, and that's keeping the Lakers from getting inside. Holmes right to the doorstep. Just when I say that, they do find the man in front. That's O'Donnell completing the hat trick, and it's 8-4 for Spring Lake. East still leads, but Spring Lake cuts into that advantage. O'Donnell from Holmes. 8:46 left in the half. So if nothing else, a lot of time elapsed off the clock between goals. It was 2.5 minutes that the Lakers had possession, and they finally cash it in. No pun intended on the pass from Cash Holmes from behind the net to Landon O'Donnell. So the seniors got 3. Gosens battling with Brown. Gosens, the quick scoop off the turf. So skilled at that. It's seldom on the turf for very long when he's in the vicinity, as he plays it into the attacking end and trots off, face off, get off, and the Pioneers go to work. Trip Hoekstra. First action, first touch of the ball for him. Dylan Buck around to the near wing. Zykowski to Jake Gosens. Mentioned Bird just coming off of hockey season. Jake and Caden also both play on the hockey team as well. Seems like a natural transition for a lot of guys. From indoor to outdoor, and that pass eludes Jake Gosens as it was bounced wide of him and he couldn't corral it. Greenway tried to find him in the corner, and so turnover to Spring Lake. Boat in some trouble, fumbled the pass, but fortunately for him, his defender, Caden Haas, was right back behind him. Or pardon, that was Baker Botchis. And it bounces through over the restraining line to Nick Egler. So Spring Lake, nearly a disaster in their own end, but instead they get new life. They win a couple of battles for the ball, and they have full possession back on the offensive. Vaughn White back into the game, cradling and feeding over to Nick Egler. There's Holmes again. Mason Day defending beside his net, along with Grant Adloff, the 2 defenders right in front of the freshman goalie Adam Curtis. A slightly errant pass, but cradled and collected. Holmes back near the top. Bolhuis didn't like what he saw there. To White on the drive, but then White over to Bolhuis. Near wing Egler sidearms it to Holmes. Holmes' pass, eluding the reach of Vaughn White. It bounces into the Spring Lake end, and it's a turnover against the Lakers. Sam Zykowski tried to step up and grab that. Didn't need to as the whistle sounded when the ball carried over midfield. Buck officially gets the Pioneers over the line, and they work far wing. Trevor Bird Wearing number 1 on the lacrosse field. Jake Gosens. Right back out to Bird. Fifely, Buck. Moving it due north right toward the goal. Taking on Vaughn White. Slipping inside, shooting. What did that hit? That caromed off somebody and deflected in behind the end line. Pioneers keep the ball. Closest to it, Jake Gosens by a long shot. Gosens to Fuller. Bird, Fifely, and Buck. Under 6 to go in the second quarter. More defensive-minded quarter than the first. Buck inside, though. Jake Gosens backpedaling and trots it back to the top. He was forced out of the area by Colin Ahrens. One of the long stick defenders right into the middle. Watch out, it's free in the crease and swatted at by Zykowski, but ended up in the possession of Boat. Boat to the leaping Vaughn White. Tries to dodge a Pioneer, that's Jake Gosens, and does connect on the pass to Jack Brown. Brown to Egler, and in over the restraining line down the right wing. It was 7-3 after 1. Just 2 combined goals in the opening 7 minutes of this quarter, though. We stand at 8-4 Pioneers, as you see there on your screen. 4:50 remaining in the second quarter. Time ticking. Got some good flow to the action in this second quarter. Not a lot of transition play, though, yet in this game. Of course, in the first quarter, not much opportunity for it since most of the shots went in, but it's been a lot of deliberate play in this game. Into the middle. A shot goes off the top of the bar from O'Donnell, and it hops out over the end line. Stays with Spring Lake. Solid entry pass from Nick Egler right to the front of the crease, but O'Donnell couldn't polish off what would have been his 4th goal. And it remains a 4-goal East Grand Rapids lead. Bolhuis and now Holmes on the dish from Shaw. Abe Yakiri defending the front for East, along with Adloff again. Ruben Yakiri graduated. He was an all-conference performer, but we still have a Yakiri on the Pioneers varsity. O'Donnell cocks the stick, but decides to pass it over to Holmes. 3:41 to go in a rapidly evaporating second quarter. Bolhuis about 20 yards from goal. Back out to the top for Caleb Egler. To Nick Egler and Cash Holmes. Bolhuis defended well by Zach Caswell of East Grand Rapids, and that forces another regroup for the Lakers. Fake pass from Nick Egler. Now he does give it to Holmes. Steps out. Around to the top it goes. Faking a shot, Caleb Egler. Over to Nick Egler. Inside feed. O'Donnell bounced it just wide. Maybe getting a piece was Curtis. And again, it stays with the Lakers. They're running a ball possession game at the moment, but they've got just the 1 goal in the quarter as we're under 3 to go before halftime. Caleb Egler to the near side. Nick Egler. Holmes the playmaker. Bolhuis. Caleb Egler and an errant pass. Curtis trying to win it. Will not be able to. No, he will. He does get the call. Just making sure in case it was ruled a shot. I don't think it was. I think it was just ruled to be a misconnection from Spring Lake. That's why the Pioneers get the ball anyway. And so Curtis, dangerous up the middle. It's intercepted by Haas. Bouncing ball free. Top of the crease, Caleb Egler trying to scoop it. Curtis will, and the official blows the whistle. And a call against East Grand Rapids on the foul. And a timeout has been called. 2:23 left in the second. And the two teams will regroup for a moment. Spring Lake calls the timeout. They had possession on the side. Coming up, 10 combined goals in the first, just 2 in the second. The only goals for East Grand Rapids Fifely right in front. Quick stick on the assist from Sam Zykowski. And then Spring Lake had an answer. That goal for East, by the way, back in the opening minute of this quarter. But they haven't had a lot of the ball in this quarter. So they've gone more than 8 minutes without a goal, nearly 9, in fact. Spring Lake scored with 8:46 to go in the quarter. Landon O'Donnell from Cash Holmes. But that's been it as far as tangible offense is concerned. Here on this March the 26th, East Grand Rapids playing their first of many against West Michigan opponents. Coming up after spring break, they've got Catholic Central on the road, then Forest Hills Northern at home. That's on April 16th and 21st, respectively. And then 3 more games in the month of April. Still have Forest Hills Eastern at home, Forest Hills Central on the road, and Rockford on the final day of April. Also away, as the Pioneers will attempt to avenge last year's loss. Their only loss to a West Michigan team was to the Rams. And the month of May, just looking down the schedule here, has 6 games, including a trip to Brother Rice. Also road games at Grand Ledge, Hudsonville, and Battle Creek Lakeview, who Spring Lake has already played and defeated this year. I mentioned 12-11 in overtime. And we've got Byron Center at Heartland, on the 12th and 13th to conclude the regular season. That's more than 7 weeks away at this point, though, as the Pioneers try to finish this early portion of their season strong. And talking to Coach KO last year, he really does consider it a separate season almost, considering there'll be nearly 3 weeks off from competition due to spring break. No games scheduled for next week, no games the week after that as well. So the Lakers have the ball again, under 2 to go in the second quarter. Right flank, it's the lefty Nick Egler, back behind to Holmes, who prefers the right side. Feeding off to Bolhuis, shot at score. He went upstairs, and Bolhuis zipped that shot past the stick of Caswell and in behind Curtis, and it is an 8-5 game. Bolhuis is first of the night. No assist on the play. 1:37 left in the half. And the lead was floating around 3 goals in the first quarter. We're back to a 3-goal margin. Plenty of time, though, for whoever wins this face-off to either creep closer if you're Spring Lake or try to create some more separation. Caden Gosens will. He's whacked at it as he's down on the turf. And the foul eventually called against Brown. Gosens wins the ball, wins the battle. And back with it, Buck. His hand right up near the cross of that stick for maximum protection, and then he delivers it to Zykowski in the corner. Behind the goal, Jake Gosens. Bird reaches to receive the pass. 1:08 left in the quarter. Fifely to Bird. Getting his energy going toward the goal. Bird dodges 2, shoots low, and that's a kick save made by Boat, still free, picked up by the Lakers. And Boat eventually takes that short exchange from Haas, his defender. Far side, Jacob Trost. Back to the middle for the keeper, Boat, and he lobs it over the top of Jake Gosens, who's putting the pressure on, trying to make life difficult on the ride. And I believe a timeout's been called by Spring Lake, as they just got it past midfield with 39 seconds left in the quarter. If you're just joining me, the Pioneers scored the first 5 goals of this game. It was 5-0 less than 4 minutes in. A couple of goals early for Sam Zykowski, also Bird, Buck, and Fuller in that flurry. But then 3 in a row for Spring Lake. O'Donnell scored a pair, Holmes another. East got 3 in a row, spanning the first quarter and the start of the second. Goals from Jake Gosens, Trevor Bird again, and Ethan Fifely. And since then, 2 in a row from Spring Lake. Landon O'Donnell, his third of the night. And Tyler Bolheis' first. And that's where we stand coming out of this timeout. Second of the half taken by Spring Lake. It's an 8-5 game, as you see there on your screen. The Pioneers traveling again. It's their fourth straight road game after wiping out East Lansing 22-2 in the season opener. They have dropped 3 in a row. So trying to overcome that hurdle today. Here in the last full week of March. And we're ready to restart play, it looks like. The official holding the ball up at shoulder height. And ready to plop it into the cross of Landon O'Donnell, and he does. O'Donnell right back to the keeper boat. Put some air under that one, and Trost has it. Hacked at a couple of times by the Pioneers' Trip Hoekstra, and it's turned over. The pressure leads to the turnover, and Adloff lobs it ahead into the stick of Jake Gosens, and he pulls it right back out, and he calls a timeout for East Grand Rapids with 18 seconds to go in the quarter and in the half. So Hoekstra stick checking, getting a piece of that pass from Trost, and that led to the interception. Adloff stepped up. So the Pioneers pull off a successful ride, and they get one last opportunity on the offensive end. They started off so quickly offensively. Just 3 goals in the last quarter and a half, but one more here would be a real momentum goal, you would figure, going into the half. Getting back out to a 4-goal lead. Spring Lake last year, I mentioned they went 1-6 in the OK Conference Tier 2. They were 8-11 overall, though, so they did better outside of the league. They ended up losing in the regional final to Forest Hills Central. Spring Lake lost Ryan Fisher and Drake Marine, 2 all-conference honorees, to graduation. But they put up a competitive performance so far here today, hanging in despite what for them was a tough start. I'm sure a shocking start to see the Pioneers pour in the goals like they did early on. But here's Trevor Bird coming out from behind. The feed to Zykowski, makes a man miss, stumbles down, tried to shoot, it was blocked by Haas. It ricochets to the far sideline, down to a couple of seconds, and time runs out in the first half. So Zykowski had his shot rejected, just planted his foot, and it slipped a little bit. Maybe some of that moisture on the field coming into play, not sure, but either way, the Pioneers couldn't get one before the end of the half. And so we'll go to the half with East Grand Rapids up 8-5 at Spring Lake. Back in about 10 minutes' time for the second half of play on the East Boys Lacrosse live stream. Stay with me.
Laker fans, welcome to the culture of 22. The Spring Lake lacrosse culture is defined by what we do and who we are, both on the field of play and in our community. As the largest lacrosse program in the state of Michigan, with 300 Lakers strong, tonight is another defining moment for Spring Lake lacrosse. The Spring Lake Athletic Department and the Spring Lake community. Number 22, Jared Coleman. Jared is a former player, coach, and inspiration for Spring Lake Lacrosse. On August 27, 2018, Jared, at the age of 22, and his grandparents were killed by a drunk driver in a horrific auto accident. This moment shook the Spring Lake Lacrosse program to its core and brought us to our knees. Jared's passion and commitment to our youth program and players lives on today. He was a pioneer, one of the first former players to get back to the program, with so many former and current players impacted by Jared, including the current Spring Lake varsity team. Youth players and parents will notice the number 22 prominently displayed above the player's heart on each and every jersey. Next week, we will have a chance to visit with each team, K through 8, and challenge each player to understand the meaning of number 22 with Spring Lake Lacrosse, and to number 1, know his name, and number 2, be that guy. The number 22, now and forever, will only be worn by one player in the Spring Lake Lacrosse program, only at the varsity level, starting in 2019. The defining attributes to have the honor to wear number 22 are exhibited by character, leadership, and hard work. Every Spring Lake player should set the goal to have the honor to be that guy and earn the privilege to wear number 22 someday. Tonight, as Lakers 300 strong, we gather for a brief moment as we honor our 2026 number 22, Landon O'Donnell. Please direct your attention to midfield and express your appreciation for this season's number 22. Landon, with his parents Brent and Jessica, head coach Trevor Johnson, and athletic director J.T. Hogan. Also a shout out to our varsity, JV, and youth players on the field and off tonight. We would like to show our appreciation for the athletic department at Spring Lake and athletic director J.T. Hogan for the support we received throughout the years. Tonight is the internal celebration of 22 Landon O'Donnell as he exemplifies the values of number 22. Please join us on May 9th in collaboration with Rockford Lacrosse, Davenport University Lacrosse, and the Jared Coleman Foundation as we celebrate number 22, Jared Coleman, all day during LACROSSE, which will be kicked off here at the Yard with the annual Jared Coleman Memorial Run, followed up by youth lacrosse games and ending with Spring Lake versus Rockford varsity lacrosse game. Thank you, Laker fans, and go Lakers! fans. Second half action. On the trigger at the face-off for your Lakers, number 2, Jack Brown.
Caden Gosens against Jack Brown at the X on the interlocking SL at midfield. Here at Spring Lake, I'm Matt Gajtka. This is the East Lacrosse live stream. We are back at you with another season, although this is our only broadcast of the opening portion of the schedule. But since there are so many road games this year on the slate for Coach KO and the Pioneers, I'm hoping to get to more road games this year. Did a couple last season. As it's picked up on the move by Buck, and over the midfield stripe, the Pioneers go to work, up 8-5, as we've begun quarter number 3 under a light rain. I was going to call it a light drizzle. Easy for me to say. I'm inside, so we'll just call it rain out of respect for the folks out there. Whether they're playing, well, if you're playing, it's easy. If you're watching, it's a little more difficult because you're just standing still or sitting still in the bleachers, but good to hear the folks get it revved up, and, of course, both benches getting excited as the Pioneers drive it around the perimeter. Buck, incisive pass and a shot just wide from Jake Gosens right in front of the crease. He had to kind of tiptoe his way to avoid stepping into the crease, and he just missed on the backhand side, the cross body flip, I guess you would call it. And the rain begins to fall more steadily. Picks up just as the second half begins. Buck dodging one, shooting, saved by Boat, loose ball, and he's got it at the side of the goal. So a defensive stop for Spring Lake to start the second half. Down by 3. Bolheis. The pass goes under the stick of Trost, but he scoops it up quickly, but then that pass gets away. Can the Lakers keep it in? They can't. It bounds into the Pioneers bench for a turnover, and East gets the ball out of that. Spring Lake got as close as 2 goals in the first quarter. It was 5-3 after a 3-goal run. Fifely turning on the Jets right down the middle. Shot at stop by Boat again. He's got 2 saves in the early going of the third quarter. Grayson Fuller winning the ball as he was hit from behind by Aarons, and Fuller's pass goes over the top of Jake Gosens and out of bounds for a turnover against East. So both teams coughing it up to start the second half. Brody Boat roaming far from his goal. Haas for Spring Lake, number 4 in white. Passing it over the restraining line comes Egler, Nick Egler that is. 2 Eglers on the field most times. Number 55 is Nick, number 6 is Caleb, both sophomores. Have to imagine we're talking about twins here, although I've seen cousins before in that scenario, so don't like to assume. Bolheis, he scored back in the first half. Vaughn White and Egler. Nick Egler behind to Cash Holmes. On the trot. Hooks up with Shaw. Back to the top. Bolheis. This is what it was like a lot in the first half. Spring Lake just probing the perimeter, but seldom were they able to connect on a pass into the middle or drive into the middle of the Pioneers' defensive formation. 9:10 to go in the third quarter. So nearly 3 minutes into action in the second half. You can see the water popping off the players' crosses when they catch passes. Egler from the right flank. White winds up. Stop made. Save made by Adam Curtis. And Curtis fires it out on right side. Maybe some transition play. Here's Luke Stark. He excels there. Puts it right on the money for Fuller, who backs it out. Fuller's got Jake Gosens with him. They exchange positions, and then they exchange the ball. Jake back to Buck. Buck had a goal way back early in the first quarter as the Pioneers built a 5-0 lead. And a turnover on the whistle. Infraction called against East Grand Rapids, so another turnover by the Pioneers. No goals on the board for either side in this third quarter. We had 10 combined again in the first quarter, and just 3 combined since. The Lakers break the Pioneers' ride. Bolhuis, White. White's got the sweatpants look going. I think everyone else on the field out there in shorts. Egler lines it behind the goal. Holmes. Near side of the cage. Bolhuis, White, O'Donnell. 3 goals today for him, Egler. He's been the trigger man on some plays for the Lakers. 2-1 coming into this game. The Pioneers at 1-3. Last year, Spring Lake started 1-7, so already off to a better commencement of the 2026 season. It'd be a big win for them if they could get it tonight because they've been trailing the whole way. Egler faking, feeding, side of the net, Holmes. And the Pioneers get in front of him. Mason Day swinging that stick. Shot goes wide from the right flank by Egler, but it's out to Spring Lake. Bolhuis, as the clock restarts, getting close to the midway point of the third quarter. 6:50 left in the third. The Pioneers on the road, as they will be often this year and have been already often this season. Inside, O'Donnell whips it in for a fourth. O'Donnell came loose and not quite a quick stick, if you will, but he did move quickly. Another shot from underneath that angle ends up fooling Curtis, and it is 8-6 with 6:40 left in the quarter. Nick Egler, another assist. That's at least 2 for him today. And a sluggish offensive start to the second half finally ends. Someone gets on the board. Day checks out for East Grand Rapids, by the way. As Jackson Nargi is back in. Tall number 31 on the defensive core for East. Gosens goes forward with it. It's jabbed down to the turf. Gosens recovers to take it right back. Showing off the agility at midfield. Caden Gosens, the returning All-American, passing it off. Shot, score! The Pioneers get one back. Trip Hoekstra right up the gut. And he overpowered the netminder Boat. And it's a 9-6 game with 6:26 to go in the third. Trip Hoekstra cashes in. Give Caden Gosens the face-off win and the assist that time. First point of the game by my count. And the goals just 14 seconds apart. Spring Lake cut it to 2. But again, the Pioneers keeping the Lakers at arm's length. Back to a 3-goal margin. Just about halfway through the third quarter. And it rolls back to Buck. That's an easy control for the Pioneers. Right back over to Caden Gosens. Over the restraining line, Gosens pushed to the outside by Jack Brown, but he made the pass. Completed it off to the far wing. Looks like that's Zykowski back there, number 19 in blue. Yes, it is Zykowski driving from behind the cage. The pass off. Buck got a lot on that shot, but it's fought off by Boat. Loose over to Fuller. His bouncing shot was blocked. And it ricochets out over the end line for a Pioneer ball. And the clock winds as it's right back in play. East not wasting any time. Zykowski to Buck and Trevor Bird taking on a couple of Lakers. Pulls it back out. Side of the net. And it goes in. Couldn't tell for a moment if that shot got in behind Boat, but it did, and the Pioneers have a 10th. Just sneaking it in from the side of the goal. I think that was Fifley who polished it off. Buck gives him a chest bump as those two connect for a goal from in tight, close quarters. Like I said, could hardly tell from up here that ball got into the netting, but it did. 2 goals under a minute apart, and East into double digits. It's 10-6. And another face-off control. And again, it rolls right back to Buck. Pioneers will take that. Easy money there off the tie-up at the center X. East trotting out Greenway off the bench. Number 9 in blue and gold. Fifely gives it to him. Caden Greenway. Making his varsity debut this year. Greenway fell down, kept the ball. Now it squirts loose toward the sideline. Picks it up, but he went out of bounds. And that's Spring Lake ball. It's a little too much pressure from the Lakers for Greenway to fight off. Bolhuis into trouble here, but he plows his way past Greenway. He lowered that shoulder, did Bolhuis. Side of the net, faking the shot, looking for an angle. Instead of the pass goes pinballing around off of an East Grand Rapids stick. Stark, can he get there? He's the king of the cause turnover, but this time the ground ball is up for grabs out near midfield, and rescuing it for East Grand Rapids, Caden Greenway. He's cross-checked a couple of times. A flag comes in, and I think it's going to be against Spring Lake as Greenway is bodied down to the turf, and we do get the whistle. So Greenway took some punishment there. He trots off to the sideline. Penalty called against Vaughn White.
Laker penalty, number 1, White, slash, 1 minute.
Slashing the call, and it is a 1-minute penalty. Man-up situation for East. Just the second penalty of this game, both of them against Spring Lake. East scored on the first one, way back in the first quarter. It was Zykowski. That was his second goal of the game. Fuller dumping it. Coming out from behind the cage is Gosens. His pass for Bird rattles off his cross and right to the side of the net. Boat handling. Aarons. The long stick pass picked off by the leaping Trevor Bird. Counter chance for East. Bird over the restraining line. Chops his steps, backs it back out. Buck. Far side Zykowski. Lefty pass behind the goal. And helpful here at Spring Lake. They put the penalty time on the board. 20 seconds to go on the penalty. Gosens around to Bird. Fuller, sharp angle. Back behind the goal, Jake Gosens. Zykowski drove right near the crease, about 10 yards away from goal, but then pulled it back out. For Buck, right back to Zykowski. Wheels a shot and missed it high and wide with 1 second to go on the penalty. So it looks like East will come up short on this one, but they'll keep possession with Grayson Fuller taking the ball out of the corner. 3:13 to go. Another quick-moving quarter. Not a lot of stoppages. Just 3 goals in the quarter so far. 2 of them for East Grand Rapids. They've stretched their lead back to 4. The rain intensifies. Buck closes, rips it, scores! Buck, the rifle shot from about 20 yards out, just inside the right post. And with 2:54 to go in the third quarter, it's 11-6 East Grand Rapids.
East Grand Rapids goal scored by number 16, Buck.
That's Buck's second of the game. He assisted on the Fifely tally just moments ago. And the Pioneers get goals exactly 3 minutes apart. Back-to-back. They've got 3 in a row overall in this quarter. Spring Lake had cut it to 8-6. But now it's back to the largest lead of the game. 5 goals for East. They led 5-0 to the Pioneers. They're up 8-5 at the half. And creating more separation again. Gosens exploding out of the gate there on that face-off win. He loops back and drops it off to Buck. 2 in the game for Dylan Buck. Almost called him Gavin. That'll happen probably at some point this year, I would imagine. Trying to the side, Zykowski blew a tire, but he got right back up. Zykowski around the back of the crease, looking for a cutter. He's got him in Bird eventually, but his shot missed on the short side. Fifely there behind the goal. And Fifely, trots it right back into play. 2:16 remaining in the third. Gajtka chopping his steps, or that's Buck rather. Number 16 in blue. Buck taking the shot, both the save. Pretty good defense by Charlie Recor as well for Spring Lake. There's an errant pass, though. It's up for grabs, and Bird going to let it go, and it goes bouncing off the foot of Luke Stark, and it's East Grand Rapids possession anyway. It was a loose ball. It did go off Stark last. Not sure if the referee saw that. He was just calling it as if it didn't, but it was not a popular call among the Spring Lake fans in front of us, I'll say that much, as Bird sprints it into the attacking end. Fuller, and lays it right back to the top again for Buck. 90 seconds to go in the quarter. Buck looking for the left-handed shot, and he puts it in. The hat trick. Dylan Buck goes upstairs. The Buck shot, and it is a 6-goal lead for East Grand Rapids for the first time tonight. 12-6, doubling up Spring Lake. Unassisted tally for Buck. 1:25 to go before the quarter break. So the Pioneers taking control. Buck with a couple of goals and an assist by my count in this quarter. Also Trip Hoekstra. That was a big goal for Hoekstra when he scored just 14 seconds after Spring Lake cut the lead to 8-6. But now 4 in a row for East Grand Rapids, and Gosens gets another face-off win. I try not to take that for granted, how routine he makes it, but like I said before, it is like a cheat code. You don't often see that level of success on a percentage basis. It was 80% last year, right around there. High shot goes wide from Gajtka from the far flank. But again, Fuller right there on the near corner. And it's become a full-fledged downpour here at Spring Lake. That's okay for the Pioneers, up by 6. They can take their time. They're okay if it becomes a bit of a slog here at the end, because they've got more than enough offense on the board, you would imagine, if they play sound the rest of the way. Spinning his Buck, looking for a man, got him in Bird, right back over to Gosens, far side Gajtka, cutting in, shooting off the outside of the goal. He got it right back, though, did Gajtka. Taking on one man and firing it back. That was Aarons who got in his way. Backside play, and off the post from Fuller, and a whistle and a stoppage. No, it's a goal. The ball went in. Fuller made his case and apparently made it well enough to the referee nearest the net. It's 13-6. Fuller on the backside. So Fuller gets his second, and it must have just slipped inside the post. I was screened out with 13 seconds left before the end of the quarter. East has 5 in a row for the second time tonight. Doesn't matter how, just how many. You've heard that one before, regardless of sport. The referee took his time, and then he extended both arms overhead in the signal for goal in lacrosse. There was a lot of congestion at the front, but the Pioneers prevailed. Foul called against Spring Lake. Clock stopped with 9 seconds to go in the quarter. They'll have to move with great speed to get a scoring chance. The play restarts at midfield. Trevor Bird starting his motor. The sophomore lets it go. Bouncing shot saved. The rebound. Score! Fifely right out in front. They do get one in less than 9 seconds. With 2 seconds to go in the quarter, Fifely converts his second of the night. And he's bouncing around. It's 14-6. You don't often get a clean rebound like that in this sport, but Fifely knew what to do with it. After Bird's shot deflected off of the goalie Brody Boat, it hopped right to the top of the crease, and Fifely deposited it just quickly enough to basically beat the buzzer. And this will be a largely ceremonial face-off to end quarter number 3. There's the buzzer. So a big push from East Grand Rapids, 6 goals in a row, and they lead it by 8. Largest lead of the night by far for East. It went from 2 goals to 8 in a hurry, and we've just got 12 minutes left in regulation time. Back for the fourth quarter after this short break on the East Lacrosse live stream.
We invite you to enjoy coming into the press box for a little warmth and shade, only you have to go on the East Grand Rapids side of the press box, please. The vehicles with their headlights on against the fence, turn them off, please. Thank you. And here we go, fourth quarter. Laker fans, Pioneer fans, make some noise.
One final quarter on a soggy night in Spring Lake. The rain has let up a bit. It was quite heavy in the third quarter near the end, but the Pioneers did not let that weigh down their offense. They scored the final 6 goals of that third period, and we're on to the fourth quarter. The Pioneers got 7 in the first, just 1 in the second, 6 more in the third. The ball out of bounds on the far side, and we switch ends, by the way. Now Spring Lake attacking the goal down to our right. Spring Lake got the call on the sideline in front of their bench, and their coach Trevor Johnson is saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. Indeed, Spring Lake's got to move with great urgency now. Down 8 with less than 10 minutes or less than 12 minutes to play. O'Donnell passing over to Cash Holmes behind the goal. Do the Lakers. They work it around the outside again. Adloff squaring up against Nick Egler. That forces the Lakers to try the left flank. Stepping out there, Nargi. Bolheis around a White. Egler behind a Holmes. Holmes' pass. Bolheis and White again. Bolheis going up against Caswell. The pass to the side of the cage, and Cash Holmes has to back it out again. More solid defending for me so far on this possession. Slicing pass goes behind the goal to Holmes. Bolheis has Caswell right there in his cage, so he couldn't pull the trigger. Egler right side. He finessed it behind to Holmes. Bolheis. And the Pioneers are fine with this as the Lakers have run nearly 2 minutes off the fourth quarter clock. Egler finally shoots, and he scores. He sneaked it by Curtis on the short side, and Curtis taps his chest, saying, my bad, as that got by him. Egler decided, well, nothing's obvious, so I'm just going to let it rip. And it wasn't a bad play there, 14-7. So still a comfortable lead, but East has to maintain that intensity level to guide this one to the finish. Getting a chance, Logan Ross at the face-off X. And Ross lowers his shoulder against Spring Lake's Jack Brown. Puck still up for grabs. Brown bumps into Ross, but in comes Buck to take possession for East. He's swarmed by a couple of Lakers, but he made a sharp pass off to Ross. Ross into the attacking end. Fuller holding his defender at arm's length. And behind the net, Zykowski. The Pioneers set up shop in the attacking end for the first time in this quarter. Zykowski charging, pulling it back out, passing it inside. There's Jake Gosens robbed on the first try. Second try, he flung it wide over to the far side. That's ruled to be a shot, I believe. So it should stay. No, it will not be a shot. It'll be ruled to be a turnover for East Grand Rapids. Excuse me. Solid stop by Brody Boat. He's had a few of those acrobatic-type saves in this game. Also could be a bigger margin for East. Tiptoeing the sideline and staying in play is Nollinger for Spring Lake. It was a solid possession down the far sideline to get through the East Grand Rapids ride. Wasn't a lot of pressure over there, but he nearly stumbled out. Egler down deep to Holmes. 9 minutes to go in the fourth. 14-7 your score. As you see there on your device screen. Remember to subscribe to this channel so you know when we're going live. East on the road this weekend. Play St. Xavier out of the Cincinnati area. That'll wrap up the pre-spring break portion of the schedule. O'Donnell, Nollinger, Bolhuis, Egler, Nollinger, Bolhuis again. Leaping shot, stop made by Curtis. He didn't know where the ball was for a second, but then he tracked it down, but he turned it over. Leaping to grab it, Kyle Nollinger. Ball on the ground, though. Pioneers let it go out, and that is East Grand Rapids ball. Smart play from Luke Stark in the end, as that allows him to gather his thoughts and not play it too quickly. As he hits Nargi, trying to escape down the right sideline, and he's up into the attacking end. It's Jackson Nargi. Poised play there for the first-year varsity man. 7:58 remaining in regulation time. No goals in the fourth yet for the Pioneers, but that's all right with them. They've given up just the one in the opening 4+ minutes of the final quarter. And Dylan Buck glad to back it out all the way near the center circle. Circle actually not significant in boys lacrosse. Here's Buck shooting, and he just ripped it wide of the right post by a couple of inches, maybe. He went low with that release.
Turn off the lights, move the truck, whatever you need to do.
Zykowski, a spin move. Elects to feed it right back to Buck. Bird to the far side. Grayson Fuller. The one-handed pass behind the goal to Jake Gosens. Familiar spots for the Pioneers on this set. Buck driving, feeding, point-blank chance. Gosens is robbed by Boat. That's a handful of outstanding saves, for Boat in this game. But the Pioneers keep the ball. Buck challenging. Dishing off to Fuller. Had to collect it after a quick bobble, but he did. Gosens to Zykowski. Leaning in for a chance, and that was stopped as well by Boat. I don't know how he got that one. Might have been off his body, as I thought it was going to zip through his legs. Trost belts down Gosens. Penalty appears to be coming up here. And yes, the referee does halt play. Foul called against Spring Lake.
The right Dodge truck out there with the lights on. Let's give him a big boo.
And the ball will stay with the Pioneers. The public address announcer is trying to shame whoever has the white truck that is flashing the headlights onto the field. I think the truck is leaving, mercifully. It's pretty distracting down there at field level, I know that much. 6:19 to go in the fourth quarter. The Pioneers doing a wonderful job, even though they haven't scored. Just keeping the ball, though. Sometimes that's even better than putting one on the board. In this situation, when you're up by several. Gosens' pass bouncing around and off the ricochet. Scoop attempt by Stalick. Can't quite get it on the first try. Fifley leaning in. Fifley scoops it on the move. Ethan Fifley passing it behind the cage. Gosens, Zykowski. Didn't have any shooting space. He'll pull it back out again. Pretty solid D from Baker Batchis for Spring Lake to force the Pioneers to play it conservatively. Lakers are still playing hard. They've got 2 wins in their first 3 games. Like I said, much better start than last year when they dropped 7 of their first 8. Buck rifles it, and it is in. It rattles in behind Boat and into the cage for a 15th goal for East Grand Rapids. First goal of the final period for East Grand Rapids. Buck's got his 4th of the night. 5:19 to go. 15-7. And the Neers on the verge of guiding this ship into port here on the lakeshore. The outcome was still in doubt early in the third. It was 8-6, actually midway through the third almost. Spring Lake's Landon O'Donnell scored his 4th goal of the night. It was just a 2-goal margin. But then Trip Hoekstra got one right back off the ensuing faceoff. By the way, Pioneers win another faceoff. And they're playing the 4 corners offense at the moment. Just as I say that, Zykowski with the cut in, and he scores up top. Zykowski beat his man, barreling in off the left wing. East has 2 in under a minute. 4:55 left, make it 2 in under a half minute. I've got Zykowski down for a hat trick after that one. 9-goal lead for East. That's their fattest bulge of the evening. It appears win number 2 on the season, just a few minutes away for the Pioneers. They'll have a chance to level their record at 3-3 before they go to spring break against St. Xavier this weekend. The Lakers miss on a connection, but it's picked up on the move by Cash Holmes, making something from nothing. Now he charges right to the goal, and he's hammered by the Pioneers' Ross. Flag comes flying as Holmes went sprawling down to the carpet. Well, the Pioneers recovered, but they couldn't defend legally in that case. Logan Ross, although I know that teammates are going to love the hustle and love the physical play for that matter, even though it will end up being a penalty called with 4:36 remaining. So the Neers, for the first time tonight, go a man down. Six on 5 for Spring Lake. Unnecessary roughness, the call. It's a 1-minute penalty. Egler waiting for the go-ahead from the official behind him, who winds the clock. Nick Egler behind the goal, Cash Holmes. First man-up attempt of the game for Spring Lake. But the Lakers are down by 9. Now it's time to play for pride for them, see if they can get a couple before time runs out, especially one here after the unnecessary roughness call against Ross of East Grand Rapids. Near the top, Shaw. Egler looking right, looking left, ends up passing it left out to Shaw. Bolhuis. This is White. Egler, 17 seconds remaining on the penalty. Around the umbrella it goes. Right back to O'Donnell, 4 goals tonight. Bolhuis, White, running out of time for the Lakers. Final seconds of the penalty. O'Donnell, fronted by Day. The fans pleading for a shot. And out of the box and onto the field. Well, comes Hoekstra. He didn't commit the penalty. Ross did, but Hoekstra replaces him, and the Pioneers are back to full strength. The Lakers still just can't find an open man where they're looking for him. They're trying to get a cutter open in the middle. It just hasn't happened. And a tomahawk shot from Bolhuis goes careening into the near side corner. It'll stay with Spring Lake, but maybe some frustration there from Bolhuis. Just nothing open. And he went with the two-hander overhead. Just 3:10 to go in this game. And the Pioneers playing hard for their goalie as well. You don't want to let up late, even though the horse might be out of the barn in this case. Holmes, goal line extended. Inside pass and a skipping shot, easily handled by Curtis. Low drive came in from O'Donnell. Curtis out to the edge of the restraining line on his side of the field. Made the pass off. And Nagy dodges a couple of Lakers. Nagy looking for someone to get open for him. He puts his arm skyward. And timeout called by East Grand Rapids. And still some good energy on that East bench. They're applauding the effort of the defending group who was out there during the man-down situation. They got the job done, didn't give up any chances, really. And with 2:25 left, the clock stops, and we might see some fresh bodies into the game for East Grand Rapids and for Spring Lake, for that matter, with the outcome no longer in doubt. So East came roaring off the bus this evening. 5 straight goals to start in the opening 3 minutes and 41 seconds. That was an impressive burst. And then, like I said, LaCrosse, a game of runs. 6 in a row to conclude the third quarter. And they've put on a couple of more in the fourth. All told, East has scored 8 of the last 9 goals to make this one academic. It's all over, but for the final 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So he's just allowing the 7 goals so far. And they'd love to keep it right at 7 if they can. They also allowed just 2 goals against East Lansing in the opener, but since then, Hamilton Southeastern scored 15, Carmel scored 15, and Detroit Country Day put in 13 just a couple of days ago on the road. So that'll feel good for the East defenders, everyone who chips in on that end. Of course, the freshman goalie, Adam Curtis. Pioneers on the attack, though. Gosens thought about a drive from behind, but then thought better of it. Down into the squat to field that past Trevor Bird. Far wing, Caden Greenway. And back in rear of the cage for Jake Gosens. Charging right at Stalick. Now pulls it out, passed it right to the doorstep. Fifley couldn't handle it. And it jumps around off the turf. Nearly turned over to Fifley. It's free for Zykowski. He's cross-checked in the crease. And no penalty called. Zykowski can't believe it. I can't believe it either, but the ball goes the other way. In the meantime, Charlie Recor takes it over the restraining line for Spring Lake, so they break the ride to the Lakers while the Pioneers were pretty distracted, asking for a call, asking for a penalty. Certainly looked like a cross-check from up here, but play allowed to continue on in a 9-goal game with under 2 minutes left. Holmes to the far side. Caleb Egler back into the ball game for the first time in a while. Egler to Vaughn White. Inside pass. That was a good one. dodging his way to the front, and Shaw scores. Isaac Shaw battled his way through some stick checks, some body blows, and he fed it into the net. Bottom right corner, 16-8, with 1 minute and 1 second remaining. 2 goals in the fourth quarter for Spring Lake. Isaac Shaw, his first goal of the evening. 61 seconds remaining. Ross on the battle at the X against Cullen Marine, and the Pioneers take control of the ball. Ross hustles off the field. Fuller bowling his way to the front, just slipped it wide of the net. Tried a short side play, but he missed against the goalie Brody Boat. East keeps it on the errant shot. This is Ezra Kuiper, number 15, into the game for the first time. Kuiper off to Calvin Gravel, right back to Kuiper. Drove to the outside, back to the middle, off to Gravel. 23 seconds left. Zykowski. And Hoekstra. And around the top, Kuiper. Gravel driving with 10 seconds. Defended by O'Donnell. Trost got his stick on an attempted pass. It's still free near the end line, and it goes rolling out with 2 seconds left. It'll be Pioneer ball. It's not going to matter. Referee starts the clock. One final feed. Zykowski ends the game with the ball in his cross. Pioneers win. Pioneers win 16-8. They score 7 in the first. They pour on 6 more in the third. Those were the key moments of the game. A run of 5 goals to start and a run of 6 straight goals in the third quarter to close out that frame and put them in command and make the fourth quarter much less dramatic than it had to be. So excellent job on the road tonight for Coach KO and his boys as they get their second win of the year. They're now 2-3. They break the 3-game losing streak. For Spring Lake, the Lakers drop to 2-2 as East wins for the second straight year against the Lakers. They beat them out at East last year in the final game of the regular season, and this year, early in the regular season, they get the win on the road against Spring Lake, which plays out of the Tier 2 of the OK Conference. One more game before the break against St. Xavier for East on Saturday. That's at Brother Rice. And then the spring break, we'll be back at it after we all take a little breather from the school year. So keep an eye out on your social channels and all the folks you keep in contact with the East Grand Rapids lacrosse team, and we'll let you know when the next broadcast will be. The first game after the spring break is on April the 16th at Grand Rapids Catholic Central. One more time from Spring Lake High School, big thanks to all the Lakers staff for the hospitality. Thanks to David Toll for running the camera and to Eric Stark for getting things set up beforehand. I'm Matt Gajtka saying